And we are live once again. Hello and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do go. We good? Yeah, we're good. All right, we're going to make a pork roast and hopefully the recording equipment will cooperate with me. If not, I'm going to lose it and smash this phone for a change. Sorry, honey. Anyhow, wife and I argue over this phone every now and again. Probably more than again. Probably more than now and again anymore. It's like I can't stand the phone. Okay. All right. We're going to make a pork roast in this episode. And what you're going to need, go ahead and set your oven to 250 degrees if it's an electric stove. If it's gas stove, 200 will be fine. Okay. Episode that we did where we did a pot roast without a pot. Okay. We're going to do something very similar, but we're going to do this with pork and we're going to change a few of the ingredients. And I'm going to show you all how easy this really is. It's unbelievably easy. It's easier than falling off a log, okay? Now, why a pork roast? Well, this is basically your typical run-of-the-mill pork butt from right over here at Country Mart, right in Bonne Terre. You can get this at any local grocery store. It's very cheap, very cost-effective. Bought this hunk of pig for, believe it or not, less than $5. So, pound for pound, it's cheap, feeds the whole family. You can pretty much make an entire meal out of, the pork and the vegetables that are going into this. And the way that it's done, it won't require much in the way of dishes. So that to me is a win-win situation. Feed the whole family, very simple, easy to make. So let's get underway. First thing we're going to do is we're going to crank the cast iron skillet. You remember my trusty old cast iron skillet that my mother-in-law bought me some time back. Okay, so we're going to get this thing nice and hot. We're going to sear the roast, the pork butt, which it isn't really actually a pig's hind end, okay? It's pork shoulder, if you will. I don't know where they got that from, okay? I don't know. It's one of those things. If someone out there knows, please tell me. I don't know why they do that. Anyhow, while this is coming up, grab your ground cumin, okay, at McCormick's Best here. It doesn't have to be anything super special here, okay? Grab some kosher salt. If you got table salt, fine, that'll work too. But honestly, myself personally, I don't like table salt. The iodine in there makes me sick, messes with my heart, and because of my post-traumatic stress disorder, we don't want to mess with my heart any more than we already have, okay? For those who understand that. All right? And what we're going to do is we're going to coat, just kind of pack it on like a rub, if you will. Pack it on nice and heavy on both sides, okay? Don't be prissy about it, all right? There's a lot of meat here. It's going to need a lot of seasoning, okay? So don't be prissy about it. And we'll get to the other ingredients soon enough. Hopefully, more people show up than this, okay? So again, just both sides, nothing special, nothing fancy, okay? Just ground cumin and salt. That's it. That's all you need for this. And don't worry about the amount of time that it sits out because it's going in the oven, okay? So don't worry about nothing, all right? And by the way, to make roast, I keep ground cumin around just for this. I think I use it in maybe a few other recipes here and there, but most of the time, not really. Okay? But that's what I mainly keep ground cumin around for. It does make an awesome chili powder right here. But anyhow, that's another time, another place. Okay? Again, while we're waiting for the cast iron skillet to come up to operating temperature, if you will, we'll know that in a second. Yep, we're there. Okay? Now is definitely, if you haven't done so already, you're going to get a whole onion. Red, yellow, white, Vidalia, I don't care. One full, medium-sized to large onion, chopped up into some nice little chunks, kind of like that. Okay? Don't get any easier than that. You're going to need, I'm going to go ahead and say about 6 cloves of garlic, small, medium, large. It's up to you, okay? You're gonna need about 6 ounces of Spanish olives with pimentos, without, with garlic. I don't care. Just that many, drain. We've already done that, okay? Also, you're going to need about 1 cup of either tomato juice or tomato sauce. Tomato juice, it'll take a little longer to make the flavor pack, but that's, you'll see soon enough, okay? And you will also augment this with a quarter of a cup of apple cider vinegar. A little bit different than the original pot roast episode where we used balsamic. Okay, I find that apple and apple flavored product kind of goes better with pork. Okay, that's why. All right, next, let's go ahead and let's get the searing. Okay, we're gonna plop this on there. Be about 2 minutes on each side. Okay, so do not panic. Now we are going to use the same plate, even though it sat on there. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about cross-contamination in this case, because once this comes out, sits on the plate, it's not actually done. We're just searing the outside, and we'll get to that soon enough. Already, you could smell the you could smell the cumin and the salt and the pork. I mean, just an amazing flavor, just already striking you right in the face. Okay. Now I already hear some of the guys, Prince Magnum, what's the sense of doing all this? I mean, why? What's so special about this? Okay, we're going to get to that. Again, this is a simple recipe. All total, I maybe, between Princess Faye and myself and shopping properly and everything, maybe $15. And you could feed an awful lot of people, or a couple of people with some very large stomachs, or, you get where this is going, okay? And husbands, how many times I gotta tell you all, okay? A husband that can cook, I mean, I've seen husbands that can cook be total douchebags, but yet, for whatever reason, their wife won't leave them. When you ask them about it, they'll say, well, he can at least cook. So, maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I try to treat the Princess Faye pretty doggone good, though. You're going to go a couple minutes on each side, all right? What you're looking for, kind of a nice dark brown, okay? Anything beyond dark brown, bad juju there, okay? Okay. I've got a big heavy-duty spatula for this. If you don't have one, get one, okay? There you go. I'm hoping the camera picks this up. You can already see that nice dark mahogany color right up on top, that nice dark brown. Black is for coffee, and no, bad juju there, okay? All right, now, real quick, it is going to take a few moments longer because as righteous a conductor of heat that cast iron is, a cold side is going down on it, and it's going to suck that heat right out. So give it a few extra moments. If you're unsure if it's done, shove your spatula under, lift it up, take a look. Use those peepers. That's what they're there for. Also, use your nose. You'll catch on to that soon enough. You know what you're smelling for, too. Okay? But anyhow, so a husband that can cook for the whole family, do it at an affordable price, that's a husband that's well worth keeping around from what I understand. Must explain why Princess Faye puts up with some of my shenanigans. Anyhow, hey, I might be a romantic husband. Doesn't mean I don't do dumb stuff, all right? All right. Also, at this time, it would also be wise to go ahead and get 2 very, very large sheets of aluminum foil and put them in the sink, okay? You'll see soon enough why, okay? You'll catch on pretty quickly, okay? So, I believe we are at that stage. Oh, yeah. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead and pull our pork roast, and we're going to set it aside. Don't worry about anything else. It's going to be just fine, okay? We're going to turn down the heat, okay? Turn it down, I would say about medium, okay? About medium. Now, even though some fat has rendered out from from the pork shoulder, pork butt. We're still going to need a little bit more. Where did I put that? Where did I put that? Okay. Take some vegetable oil, cooking, canola oil, whatever. Whatever you got handy. Just no extra virgin olive oil or butter for this because this is a high heat method and we know how that goes. All right. So, real quick, I want to thank Bert of Bert TV. He actually had donated this for some cooking episodes. So I want to thank Bert of Bert TV for the vegetable oil. All right, we're gonna throw our onions in. We're gonna throw our garlic in. All right, no mercy. Okay, we're gonna throw our olives in. There we go. Gone. All right, and we're gonna lightly coat all of this up. Okay, scrape around a little bit. That's why we're using cast iron, so we can scrape a little bit. Because good seasoned cast iron skillets can take it. That's why you don't use a non-stick on this. Okay? And once we get everything coated up real good, we're going to give it a few moments to kind of start getting translucent. Okay? Smells great. I wish you all could. There I go again, doing that. Maybe one day we'll get the smell-o-vision from the Prince Magnum channel all taken care of. A little bit later, while this is in the oven, we are going to do kind of some special shout outs to some very special ladies, friends of the Prince Magnum channel. We're definitely going to talk about some wonderful ladies who were inspirations, some inspiration going all the way back to 1996 and 97. Some wonderful ladies that I've known since high school. So we're going to talk about them a little bit later in this live stream. But for right now, those ladies will remain in the shadows for just the time being. Because if it hadn't been for some of these ladies from past to present, I, Prince Magnum, may not be exactly who I am today. So we'll get to those wonderful ladies soon enough. All right? So, all right, we are just about at that stage. All right. We're going to take our tomato sauce. You can use tomato juice. It's up to you. It's just going to take a little longer. And I'm going to turn down the heat just a little bit more, okay? This is going to be a reduction. That's why we went with the tomato sauce this time. 1 full cup of tomato sauce along with a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. Again, we changed from balsamic to apple cider because of pork. And again, I find, for whatever reason or another, that pork and anything apple go really well together. I must mean, that also explains those jokes. How I'm going to, I think, how shoving an apple in the pig's mouth. Anyhow. For those of us who watch all sorts of crazy movies and things like that. All right. Also, kind of a heads up, at some point during this live stream, please do not go away, but I almost expect Princess Faye to call every live stream, every time, when she's at work, guaranteed. I just expect it. I expect it like when it rains, you get water. I expect it just like that, okay? That's just how it is here on the Prince Magnum channel. Nothing goes on without a hitch. Just the way it is. All righty. So, right now, I will be adjusting the heat. I just want a nice light boil to kind of cook off some of the moisture, concentrate those flavors. And those flavors will go into that pouch. Now, real quick, for those who do not know the method that we're actually using, even though it is a pork roast, kind of like a pot roast in this case, this is a method known as braising. Long, low, moist cooking method. And the design behind it, because if anybody knows anything about, in this case, pork shoulder, pork butt, which are the same thing in this case, what we're talking about is pork shoulder. That's a part of the pig that does a lot of moving, which has a lot of connective tissue, collagen. And if you know anything about collagen, that makes gelatin. It makes ribs, really good. Makes America's favorite dessert, Jell-O. which I'm not going to tell you exactly how that all is made. Look it up sometime, okay? I'm not going to ruin that for all of you, okay? Jello, so that's where we get that from. So we want it, a long, low cooking method. 250 degrees in the oven for about an hour will do just that. And any of the collagen and the fats will mix with what's already in there. You don't need a whole lot of liquid, okay? And in the end, I'll even be able to tell you how to make a gravy out of it if you wanted. This can be the all-around meal just for, again, for a family of 4. Wouldn't even take that much of a side dish at the end. It's very simple. It's a great one to throw in the oven. You can chase the kids around, do the laundry, do the dishes, whatever for the next hour. So that's what's so special about it. And again, this will allow me to do some dedications in this video. All right, we've just started achieving that nice bubble. Again, by now, you can really smell this. It's just like, bam, hitting you right in the face. Again, this is the flavor pack that's going to go into our foil pack. And at this stage in the game, be sure to get a cookie sheet, okay? In case for some reason your foil pack has a small leak in it, you want to do this. Now, real quick, while we're also on the subject of foil, I definitely recommend heavy duty, okay? Because you don't want messes getting out into the oven. However, if the best you got on hand for this is regular aluminum foil, use 2 sheets in this case. You're going to lay as best as I can. You can see the foil over here at the sink. I've got one strip, big strip, kind of laid out like such, going one way, another one going this way. If you've got the regular foil, 2 strips going this way, 2 strips going this way. I'm not telling you this because I've got an aluminum mine to move. I'm telling you this because it'll prevent leakage, okay? You don't want this stuff inside your oven, okay? Self-cleaning cycle, anyone? You know what I'm talking about. All right. So, and with the traditional coffee. All right. Now, again, we're at that stage. We're getting a nice bubble going on. We want this to reduce, not necessarily, I would say it reduced down 1/3 to 1/2. Whatever you're comfortable with, adjust to your own flavor, okay? All righty. Me, I look for a certain consistency. That is actually pretty dang good. We're going to kill the heat, okay? And from here, I won't need this spatula anymore. Okay, so I'm going to rinse it off. Saves a lot of hassles later on. Now, because this is hot and this is not, wear heat protection. I have 2 words for you if you don't. Burn ward. Okay. We're going to come over here and we're going to pour about half of this in the pan. Well, in our foil pack from the pan, okay? Now, take your pork roast, like such, and you're going to lay it in on top of the liquid. Now, come back, kind of rinse off my porky hands there. Come back, grab the rest of your liquid, your flavorful liquid, and you're going to pour it right on top. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. And toss that aside. Now, all we got to do is just take and wrap up the pork tight. Very, very tight. Now, this is going to end up being one of the longest live streams here on the Prince Magnum channel, but I promise you it'll be well worth it. Okay. Now, from here, lay the foil pack right on top and bounce the piggy into the oven. Just like that. Got the timer set for 1 hour. And there we go. All right. No mercy, right? All right, now we're going to grab hold, and I'm going to take y'all with me into the office for just a little while. We're going to wait for the timer to go off. Princess Faye will be home probably before you know it. Actually, I'm going to get the light going here. I'm scared of the dark. Anyhow, she'll be home before you know it if she doesn't call and interrupt the live stream first. I'm telling you, it's like I need coffee. It's kind of like, you expect it like you expect water when it rains. I'm telling you. If she doesn't during this live stream, I will be surprised. Okay. So we're going to take the rest of my coffee and we're going to go sit down and we're going to chit chat. We're going to give some special shout outs to some special ladies. And if all goes well, we'll also be able to do a Q&A later on. We're going to so if anybody has any questions during said live stream, please do not be afraid to ask those questions. Okay. So, all right, we're going to adjust the camera a little bit. Now, again, during this braising process, I promise you all that this is going to be one of the easiest recipes you ever do. The most work you're actually going to do, cutting up your veggies and all that stuff. That's really about the worst of the work. All right. There we go. We'll toss all that aside. All righty. Let's see where we're at on my time. Okay. We got a little while to go. All right. Let's do some dedications. Recently, there's been a lot of my lady friends, some of them that I've known since high school, going through a lot of relationship problems, going through a lot of problems, period. I mean, it's just unbelievable, all the problems that they're going through. And so much so that it almost breaks the heart. And now I need to find my smokes because I like to smoke. So we're going to walk around for a little bit while we start talking about some of these ladies. First things first, let's talk about, as of recent, one of my old friends named Randy that I've known since high school. Hi, Randy. She just had this horrible, horrible breakup. And it blows my mind because I bet you I left my smokes out there in Project Spirit. I just had to go pick those up too. Ooh, it's really dark now. Anyhow, there we go. Ooh, yeah. Randy just went through the horrible breakup, and it just seems like she can't get ahead. And I mean, she's, and recently she just became a grandma. Okay. Of all the things, one of my friends from high school just became a grandma. I'm like, what the, but hey, time marches on. Okay. And son of a gun, there they are. Okay. Put them in my pocket. All right, we had to come out to Spirit, and I always disconnect her at night, even if she wasn't having a little issue with her ignition switch, I would still disconnect her. Ooh, scared of the dark. Anyhow, I never get tired of that joke. Anyhow, she just had another breakup and all that horrible stuff, and she's really been down on herself. And it blows my mind. Why would not any guy want to, latch onto a lovely lady like Miss Randy that I have known since high school? Blows my mind. And it dawns on me, well, she's a strong, independent woman. And some guys are intimidated by that. I don't know why they would be intimidated by that. I mean, honestly, she's a good, strong woman, great personality. And I've known her since high school. As a matter of fact, she used to be, I believe, if I remember correctly, she was in my junior year and my senior year. She was in my algebra classes, and I remember tutoring her through some of that because we had a good algebra instructor. But it was just one of those things that she was a little hard to follow for some people. I got it, but I'm weird like that. But Randy allowed me to, she never, looked down her nose because, I was always tutoring, because I would help tutor. If anything, she let me be smart, and sometimes, you know, if y'all understood the past that I lived, letting me be smart, you know, that makes you feel good, considering the past that I've had to live. So, Randy, you know, I'm sorry that, you know, that you can't seem to find that guy who understands strong, independent women. Maybe he'll get it one of these days. You know, maybe one of them guys out there will get it. You know, but let me say that by you letting me show off that I had some intelligence at that time, that I was a little bit more than what a lot of people thought back then. Let me say up front that that you know what you did there helped start laying the groundwork for who I became today. So that's important. Okay, don't forget that. You know, if there's no guy out there who gets, you know, that strong independent and how important you are to the Prince Magnum channel prehistory that eventually led up to the Prince Magnum channel's history today, then if they can't get that, then you know maybe they're not worth your time. You know, just saying. So, uh, so there you have that. Okay. So there's Randy's special shout out. Let's talk about another friend of mine who's been mentioned on the Prince Magnum channel before, and I'm going to mention her again. My old friend Becky, who I've known since I was like actually even before high school. We knew each other when we were like 6 years old. Her mom actually used to babysit my brother and I, my younger brother. Um, Becky's an interesting person. You know, I will openly admit, when we were kids, I had a crush on her. No, honey, you cannot get upset about that. That was long before you were even born. For those who do not know, Princess Faye is 25. I am 39. Okay. I guess I'm doing something right, huh? Oh, I couldn't help that joke. I couldn't help that joke. There's still a little, you know, even though I'm, you know, I like to be the romantic husband, there's just a touch of chauvinism right there, okay? And I think every man is guilty of it. So I just, there you go, a little bit of honesty from me, okay? All right. That being said, Beck too just finally settled down. Some man who finally got it. You know, he you know understood that strong personality. You'll notice that the women that I'm mentioning, strong personalities, all go. You know, don't mess around. You know, it's like take me as I am, and and every last one of them that I'm going to mention, they're beautiful on the outside, but their personality is overshadows the exterior beauty. Okay, and they're beautiful in their own special way, but it's all personality. I mean, you could talk about how good they look all day long, but you're only just well. It's kind of like looking at that nice looking book and going, well, it has this really nice leather covering, and the inside is just amazing. You know, the story will blow your mind. Well, Becky's another one of these people that definitely fits the bill for this. Okay, um, hands down, bar none. As a matter of fact, I remember a particular story with Becky. Same class, okay, algebra. There was, you know, her and I were talking, you know, just kind of chit chatting about, you know, what was going on that day. You know, just kind of, you know, kind of one of those things. We're all just, you know, we're talking, and of all the things. You know, one of the guys said, "Oh, you two dating?" And she said, "Well, no, I've got a boyfriend," and I forget the guy's name, but you know, I've got a boyfriend, nice guy. Uh, you know, like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah," you know, it's Prince Magnum right there. And she said, "Well, no, we're you know we're good friends. We go back a ways, but I will tell you this." Um, if I was single, he would have more of a shot than you because you're a jerk. And that's the type of personality of women. Right there, straightforward, in your face, tell you exactly how it is. That strong, feminine personality that just, I mean, that's what I like. Okay. And she definitely, you know, showed it right there. And she explained it later, you know, that it was because, you know, I listened to her and things like that. Husbands, start taking notes. Okay. You know, so that's what it was all about. By the way, the same algebra instructor also piped up and said, "You got that right." And I had to stay after class because she realized that she kind of overstepped her bounds in the middle of a student conversation. And she kind of said something. And so I had to stay after class. And no, it wasn't like that. And she had explained herself. She said, because you've got a nice personality, you've got a strong personality. And by the way, for those who remember me from high school, um, will also know that I suffered the ugly duckling syndrome. Okay, I wasn't the handsome guy. Okay, I would say that in my late 20s I nailed that down, but that was in my late 20s. Okay, I'd say right now for an older gentleman I'm average at best. Okay. Some may say one way, they might say the other way, whatever, we'll just leave it at that, and my cigar went out. So, Becky, being the strong personality, she actually stood up. I think Randy was also in that class too, and she kind of spoke up too a little bit, talking. And so, guys, start taking note, okay? Women want a guy that's going to listen, the good guy. I hate that whole thing. Good guys finish last. Wrong. Okay. These women would have been single. If I'd have been single, I probably wouldn't have been single for long because they could see the early beginnings, what makes me Prince Magnum. So these ladies were already, I guess, in a way, kind of shaping the road that would lead us to today here on Surviving Romance. Take note, husbands and young men around the world, okay? So thank you, Becky. That's your special shout out. So we got Randy and Becky out of the way. Now, let's talk about another special young lady way back in high school. I don't believe we've really mentioned her on the Prince Magnum channel. If we haven't, if we haven't, shame on me. Let's talk about my friend Belinda. Belinda. When I was a senior in high school, she was a freshman. Okay. And let me say right now, she gave me probably one of the biggest ego boosts of all time while putting herself in danger at the same time. And let me explain. High school drama, folks. It never really changes. It doesn't change. I don't think it ever changes, okay? Let's go back in time. Again, this is 1996, actually, 1996. Don't ask me the date. I just remember the year, okay? It's been a lot of time since high school. Back then, I was still working on my car, and at that time, I had Blue Thunder, actually. I had my 78 Camaro, but it wasn't done yet. As a matter of fact, still rode the bus. Long story, okay? I actually didn't get my driver's license till after high school. But so we're on the bus, and I'm with my high school sweetheart, Lady Silver Mist. For those, I don't have to give an actual name for Lady Silver Mist. There will be many people who do remember Lady Silver Mist from high school who I used to see. So they'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Lady Silver Mist and I are chilling out on the bus. We're just kind of talking about, teenager, teenage love stuff, all that cute stuff. It was my first love, head over heels for her. Young Belinda is, again, she's a freshman. I'm a senior. She's, kind of eyeballing me. Which at that time, I didn't think I was really worth eyeballing, okay? It's a big ego boost here. But again, I'm paying attention to my first love, being the good boyfriend back then, and she notices. Now, for anyone who knows Lady Silver Mist, knows she got a temperament, the fiery red hair, and that sort of thing. She noticed and started a whole jealous girlfriend thing. And it was just, I'm like, babe, what the heck, So So it already, and she started, kind of saying, she better, put her eyes back in her head, stuff like that. So already Melinda's given me probably one of the greatest compliments because I didn't think I was that, really that much to look at back then. Uh, I didn't even think I really started really looking like much until I was like 24, 25. Okay. So she was already giving me a good compliment, by even though she didn't say a word. Then come the senior freshman pool party, which was in mid-September 1996. And Belinda kind of teasingly flirting with me. I didn't take any, I didn't, I mean, she was a sweet young lady. Obviously knowing that I'm with someone, so I knew that she knew, it was kind of like I knew she knew that nothing was going to happen because, that sort of thing. Uh, you know, first love. I'm in love, head over heels. I'm not going anywhere. Y'all see where this is going. Lady Silver Mist is getting more infuriated when I start talking about it, and she's like, "That little bitch." Y'all can see where this is going. So the next day, Linda, and then it blows up in the cafeteria when we're waiting for the first hour class. By this time, Belinda has given me the greatest compliments, showing that maybe I'm not that half bad looking after all. Maybe she's seen something I didn't. Okay, um, and she was, I guess you could say, she was giving me the confidence to, giving me confidence, which of course in turn kind of strengthened me in my relationship with Lady Silver Mist in those earlier, in those earlier days, because at that time we would celebrate months together. Okay, celebrate months together. Um, so again, this was laying groundwork. Okay. Now, where did she kind of put herself at risk? Well, it came to a head. Okay. Um, Lady Silvermist grabbed two of her lady friends from school and kind of cornered young Belinda. And they basically proceeded to chew her out. Now I'm sitting there going, "What the fuck?" I didn't know. And it was one of those scenes that it was kind of embarrassing. Okay, and all my guy friends in my senior class, they're like, "Dude, what the heck?" I'm like, "I don't know." I said, y'all could probably figure this out quicker than I can. I mean, I didn't think I was, so she put herself at risk by giving me the greatest compliment you could, because everyone knew who I was with. Everyone knew who I was with. So it was like that, you know. Talk about a true friend right there showing you one of the greatest compliments ever while at the same time putting themselves at risk. Because again, if y'all knew Lady Silver Mist, yeah, yeah, fiery redhead, and which brings us to another lovely lady I would like to give a special shout out. So real quick, Belinda, that was a big compliment. Thank you. And we are still very close today. When I have problems that I just got to blow off steam, she's who I talk to. She's still right there. She's who I turn to sometimes when I got to vent, and I don't want anyone else to know what I'm venting about. Okay. Um, I don't think she'll ever know how important that is today. Now, let's talk about another fiery redhead. Um, Wendy. Wendy. Oh my gosh. I can't, after all these years, and fiery red. Uh, she was one of those ones that, would often encourage me in that relationship with Lady Silver Mist in high school. That was very important to me. I would do sweet stuff, and she's like, "Oh, that's so sweet," and she really encouraged me. Now, all of these ladies that I mentioned, in some way, shape, or form, will have laid the groundwork to the surviving romance today, which is obviously a complete dedication to Princess Faye. Um, and And let me say up front, Surviving Romance, it serves two purposes today here on YouTube. Number one, again, it's my way of saying that I love my wife, okay? And, believe me when I say that men, it is okay to say you love your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance, your other half. I don't care. It is perfectly okay. If you don't do it, somebody else will, okay? Period. I don't know how many times, don't screw that up. This story is so these ladies laid the groundwork for one of the most important stories of my senior year. And I think I've told this story here on the channel, but it bears mentioning again. I'm in a class and at that time I was in the same class with a lady who was also very inspirational, a different Tanya than the one from, but anyhow, a different Tanya that was very close to Lady Silver Mist. We were in this family development class, okay? And what was interesting about this class is the subject comes up one day, and if you have your children on your knee, now would be a time to kind of cover their ears for just a moment, okay? In the class, we had to talk about sexual responsibilities in a relationship, okay? And most of the women, well, they put all the women together, and there wasn't a whole lot of guys, so I got stuck with a bunch of chauvinistic guys, okay? This story is, if it's not still being trotted around Arcadia Valley High School today, I would be shocked if it's still not getting around school, okay? This story was, again, this is an important story. The ladies that I have just mentioned were part of the groundwork for this story, which would later on be the premises for Surviving Romance today, okay? So, ladies, you got your shout out. Now we're going to tell the story. Let's get on with it. We had to talk about sexual responsibilities, and we had to kind of make a presentation to the class. That being said, these ladies, again, were very inspirational in this story, along with my friend Tanya, not the same one from the Tragic Love Story, which if you've not seen that after the live stream, I definitely recommend you all watching that video. I couldn't even go on camera. I cried. That's why I had to narrate it. You guys couldn't even tell but anyhow, this is a different Tanya. So if she ever watches, she'll remember this story. So here I was in a group with a bunch of chauvinistic guys talking about sexual responsibilities. And they were just putting down this very chauvinistic stuff. And as they would talk, I would become more and more angry. Because, I've already had some very special ladies kind of lay some groundwork for me and gave me confidence. And it was okay to be the sensitive guy and the sensitive boyfriend and things like that. And that sort of thing. So what ended up happening was it came to the end of the presentation. The ladies, for the most part, did a pretty good job trying to be right down the middle. And, that sort of thing. But again, it depends on how you look at it. So, when it came time for the guys to present theirs, I stood up right in the middle of the class. Hey, what's up? Good old T-Bone joining us. He might even remember this story. I stood up in the middle of the classroom, and the first thing I said was, the presentation you're about to see from the rest of the guys, I had nothing to do with. My voice was not heard in this. I refused to take any responsibility for this. And I looked right at my instructor and said, I want to make sure you understand I will take no credit for this. And if you have to give me an F for this assignment, I am perfectly okay with that. You could fail me for the rest of the year over this, and I will be perfectly okay. As long as my name is not involved in this project, okay? You could fail me right now, and I would be perfectly okay with that. Again, all of the ladies that I previously mentioned, again, laid the groundwork for this story. Um, I stood firmly behind my beliefs. I was not going to be a chauvinistic guy, okay? And I didn't want any part of being that chauvinistic guy. So what ends up happening is the guys became very cowardly and did not want to present this to the class. They actually selected a guy who wasn't even there when the project was done to present it. And he's like, dude, no way. So the women were outraged. And then I turned around and said, now you see why I wanted nothing to do with this. Again, nothing wrong with being a sensitive guy. Husbands, boyfriends, guys who are single right now looking for the right one, take some notes. And even the instructor was outraged. And she says, Dennis, well, Prince Magnum, do you feel that your voice was not heard? And I said, yeah, I don't feel my voice was heard. Would you like to do your own project? I said, yeah. Well, any guy that feels that, exactly. I didn't want to be like them. What the heck? Would you like to do your own project, Prince Magnum? Yes, I would. So I went over, had a poster board in front of me, and pretty soon, any other guy that doesn't feel their voice was properly heard, please join Prince Magnum in his new group. All the guys in the class came over because they realized that if they were single, they were going to be single an awfully long time, And even one of the guys who also, like me, had a steady girlfriend. Yes, there was such a thing. There is something to be said about the word going steady, okay? Anyhow, old terminology that's faded into obscurity. Anyhow, he was now facing where he wasn't going to have a steady girlfriend because of this presentation. He was one of the chauvinistic guys. So his relationship was now in jeopardy. Hi, Jeremy. She's at work right now. She'll be home soon. I've got supper in the oven, okay? That's the pot roast, that's where the pork roast is in. We're waiting for the timer, okay? Now, from here, in this story, I think T-Bone remembers this. Hey, I'm going to be the evil husband here. I'm going to have supper on the table before the wife gets home. Isn't that awesome? Let's see. So, before I knew it, I pretty much had to throw the poster board away. Now, occasionally, some of these guys would start to try to poke in their own chauvinistic attitude again. And I looked right at him and said, look, that's what got you in trouble in the first place in this project. So that voice was already heard. If you want to put that, that's not going to make it in this project. Right. That voice was already heard. So if you want that voice to be heard, get out of my group. Okay. That voice is not. Does no longer need to be heard in this project. Okay. So if you want to talk like that, get out of my group. Man, you don't have to be like that. Look, I'm not going to have that. Okay. And it went up to the chalkboard the next day. Just wrote one word: trust. Do you trust them enough to let the bedroom door close with them? That's what it boiled down to. Okay. So I was able to speak my ground. Do you trust them? Do you trust them? And in the end, the ladies appreciated that. And of course, Lady Silver Mist had a lot of ladies, including the fourth that I mentioned, come up to her and say, you got a very, very good boyfriend. You better take good care of him. And of course, we know that with my alcoholism, I went down a very dark path. And of course, she ended up having to leave me. There's a lot more to that story that I don't talk about. Uh, Mainly, let's just say that I keep the fingers pointed at me. Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Maybe one day I might tell the whole story, but we'll just say in the end it was my fault, and we'll leave it at that. Okay. So there you have that. Okay. Uh, so again, those four ladies that I mentioned, Wendy, Randy, Belinda, uh, and of course Becky. Those four ladies really, really, I don't think they realized how inspirational they were for that story to become, I believe it, I wouldn't necessarily say legendary, but awfully close, because that was the day that Prince Magnum stood up in front of the class and said, I will not be a chauvinistic male. So there you have it. That was my senior year, 1997 to be exact. Oh my goodness. How long ago? I don't want to think about how long ago that was. Oh God. It was over 20 years ago. Oh man. Yeah. So that, those ladies might remember when that story started going around. Of course, they probably remember some of the other stories I told. Yeah, laugh about it all you want. Laugh about it all you want. We're getting old, man. We're getting old. Real quick, let's talk about some other people that have laid some groundwork for here on the Prince Magnum channel. I want to give a special shout out to Mrs. Soberman. Mrs. Soberman. That was ages ago. Mrs. Soberman. She's frequent in some of the live streams. Again, she was one of these ladies that um, was also inspirational in my earlier days of sobriety. Very supportive. Whether she knew it or not, she sometimes beats herself up because, she's kind of going through some problems of her own right now. But she was quite the inspiration, whether she realizes it or not. Uh, you know, a lot of times she was sometimes that voice of reason when sober man himself didn't know how to handle some of the things I did. Like that time I took a paintball to the temple and got a nasty little concussion. I have never been yelled at like that in my life. Again, I will say this. Mrs. Soberman corners me and says, I got a bone to pick with you. I'm like, about what? What is it with you and playing paintball? You know that it's a dangerous sport. And I mean, she chewed me out for a half an hour. I get to the end of that half hour and she says, and what do you have to say for yourself? Well, there is nothing you can say in your defense. And she proceeds to chew me out for another half hour. I've never been chewed out like that. From what I understand, that's what a good mom does. My real mom was just not like that. And she chewed me out hardcore. And when we get to that, she finally does let me get out. She says, so what do you have to say about this? And I'm like, well, it's fun. I enjoy it. Hi, Galaxy. It's fun. It's just exciting. And, if you had seen my fourth step, you would completely and totally understand. Well, it took a few paintball rounds to the temple and everything, it's just one of them things. Uh, so she was, a lot of times, she was that, because and I openly admit, again, I'm a sensitive guy. I get sometimes, I get teased by Princess Faye. She'll say, my God, you sound like a woman sometimes. And it's an ongoing joke. As a matter of fact, to even go back in time, Lady Silvermist used to tease, and excuse my language, she used to tease to say, "You have a bitch. I have a bitch for a boyfriend." Okay, that's all there is to it. And I know T-Bone is probably laughing right now. She used to tease me all because I was, being the sensitive guy. Again, there's nothing wrong with being a sensitive guy. Nice guys don't always finish last. That's BS. I don't believe that. Not to say that I'm always the nice guy. I make mistakes like everybody else. I have my moments like everybody else. That's just the way it is. Um, while we're on this subject, let's also talk about inspirational, some other inspirational people. Um, Ooh, I'm scared of the dark. Anyhow, that joke never gets old. Um, Again, you know, lots of inspirational ladies. All right, we're gonna kind of. Oh, that smells good. That smells great. There I am again, making that horrible, horrible, horrible joke to all of you. You can't smell what it is that I'm cooking. And I say stuff like that, and it's like, we don't have smell-o-vision here on the Prince Magnum channel, which I actually heard at one time. That was an experiment. And it just didn't quite work out. I believe that was back in the 70s. We just couldn't get the technology worked out. Maybe one of these days, right? One of these days. All right, let me grab a coffee filter. Again, this is a time-consuming thing, but there's not a whole lot of work involved in this recipe. Also, let's take a moment also, while we're on the subject of inspirational ladies, um, let's take a moment to also talk about um, another inspirational lady. So Lady Soberman, who, again, helped lay some early groundwork for for me, a lot of times, I guess you could say, seeing her and Sober Man kind of showed me, in some ways, even though they had their own problems and everything, showed me that it was okay to have problems in a relationship, and kind of showed me where I needed to stand when it came time for me to get married. So, pretty cool, pretty cool. Good inspirational ladies, and from my past. Real quick, another young lady who is kind of going through some serious, serious trouble. Um, a woman by the name of Caitlin. She's going through some serious problems right now, and it blows my mind. She's got a beautiful young daughter, and just a sweet gal all around. And it blows my mind that she's having these problems because a lot of times she watches me be the goofball, and she is the only one from my job who has actually spotted this. The only one, the only one. And I have to say I'm impressed. There are days that I go into work and I hate life, okay? I wish it wasn't always, there are some days it doesn't feel good to be Prince Magnum. Some days I wake up, I just don't feel good about life. I think we all had that experience. It's, it's up to me to search out that whole thing that makes me find what it is that I need to, to find my purpose for that day. Caitlin is actually one of the few people who has spotted that I do suffer from that. When I go to do my customer service thing, I'm off the wall, I'm goofy, having a great time. It's like, rah, 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 and everyone's having a great time. Well, it's through their laughter I find my way a lot of times through the day. And if it was not for, she's the only one who has ever figured that out completely. And that's impressive because most people just figure I'm a goofball. What I'm really doing is that sometimes maybe events from the day before has spilled into today, things of that nature, and I struggle to deal with that. And where's my hat? I took it off. Just took it off. Kind of just felt like not wearing one for a moment. I know we're all used to me wearing the Punisher hat or, an AutoZone hat or a Napa Auto Parts or my Native American hat. I just didn't feel like wearing one at the moment. But anyhow, she's one of the few people that have ever spotted that. That my goofiness is kind of my way of trying to get people to kind of build me up. Yeah, T-Bone mentioned something. He's the guy that he likes to egg me on because he knows full well that once he gets me going, get out of forget it. I'll drive everybody up the wall at work. It's like not too long ago, I told some pretty dark jokes. Probably one that I won't tell the one that I told today that I've been telling for the last couple of days, and everyone's just like, "Oh my God, man, how could you tell that joke?" But to give you an idea, occasionally I like to tell those creepy, dark jokes, and this is one of the jokes that you don't hear when I cross on the other side where customers are. So if you're a customer, if we're coming to the Farmington One location, McDonald's over on Carson, obviously in Farmington, this is one of the jokes you all don't get to hear. And bear in mind, I'm Native American, and you'll hear me tell this joke. Why is it that my people, the Native Americans, why were we here before everybody else? And some people will go, they'll start trying to give the land bridge thing and everything, and I'll turn around and say, no, we were here first because we had reservations. Oh gosh, don't get me started on the special coffee. We like to get a couple of shots of espresso and then get ourselves bouncing off the wall. That's what T-Bone was just mentioning about. Anyhow, so there's some special dedications. We mentioned Caitlin. We mentioned my friend Tanya T. If she ever watches this, she'll remember that day in class. We mentioned Belinda. We mentioned Randy. Again, Randy going through some serious stuff. Just became a grandma. I cannot believe it. People from high school that I went to high school with becoming grandparents. Gee, my Netley. We mentioned Becky again. Again, I've known her since I was 6 years old. Good Lord, that's a long time, and she still admits she's a friend of mine. That's bad. And of course, we mentioned good old Wendy. Just sweet personality. She does not fit the fiery redhead, even though she's a fiery redhead. If you catch my meaning. Maybe her other half would like to confess whether or not she has a temperament like a typical redhead. Maybe he might come on and leave that comment. I don't know. She never seemed like the type, though. And Princess Faye has come home. I see she tried to sneak in on the live stream. Pork roast is in the oven, honey.
I can smell it.
Yep. Again, if you're just joining us for the live stream, we are doing a pork roast based on the pot roast recipe that we have done before here on the Prince Magnum channel. We did it twice. The first time it didn't quite work out. Second time was just fantastic. But we made a few minor changes to this one. Where the clock is winding down. We're getting to that point where we're going to be pulling it out of the oven. And of course, we got to give it just a little bit longer before I can expose exactly how fantastic this came out. Now, real quick, the vegetables that we put in, T-Bone says hi. But anyhow, now there's a couple of things you could do with the vegetables and the tomato sauce or tomato juice, however you decide to do it. There's a little something that you could do with this. You could just drain off the juices, serve the vegetables with it, perfectly fine. Makes a nice side dish. You could even take those vegetables and put them on rice if you wanted. Another fantastic kind of fancier side dish. And rice is cheap. That is a possibility. You can do that. You could even serve it with some pasta, some nice pasta, egg noodles. Fantastic. Goes a long way. Or you could save all the juice, take the vegetables, put it in a blender, blend it up real nice, makes a nice gravy right over the top of this. And because it's not a starch-based gravy, it won't set up like a starch-based gravy. Of course I'm silly. But again, husbands that can cook usually don't see divorce court very often. Maybe that's why some of the politicians over in Farmington don't necessarily like the Prince Magnum channel. Some do, but some of the more ones that we have mentioned here on the Prince Magnum channel don't like the Prince Magnum channel because it costs them money.
Uh, just saying, okay? But anyhow, that being said, you know, these are simple, cheap recipes that anybody can do. This also makes great date food. Don't have money to take them out on a nice date? Buy some candles. Make a nice dish like this. Maybe sometime I might have to show y'all how to make some centerpieces on the cheap. Uh, great date food. Okay, and you still got money left over to take them out cruising on a night on the town. Just be Mr. Romance through and through. Um, just something to be said about that. Uh, while we're also on the subject of romance, again, the movement is still growing. And, as a matter of fact, I want to give another special shout out to another very special lady, young Erin, who actually I also went to high school with. Is also now joining the movement to have me, Prince Magnum, named the most romantic husband in St. Francis County, Missouri. Uh, all of these ladies that I have mentioned tonight were inspirational in some way, shape, or form in molding me, Prince Magnum, to become a romantic husband to Princess Faye, which in turn has led to this unofficial title. Which that unofficial title, I guess the movement was already started, but it only took one person to say it once, and then the movement has begun. That would be Big Bad Bert of Bert TV, who kind of started, he kind of said it, and then people were like, well, maybe it's time. Which also brings me to a great supporter. They come on and just go by, it's me. And they've been very inspirational since they have found the Prince Magnum channel. Giving you a special shout out to, again, something about good food that brings good people together. I guess the best way to put it is you can't argue when you got food, you're shoveling food in your mouth. Maybe that's why some husbands who even have nasty attitudes don't see divorce court if they can cook really well. Wife can't argue with you. She's eating. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe that's the secret to it. Anyhow, we won't read into it too much more. All right. So the clock is winding down. I know our pork roast is getting close to done. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to pull that pork roast out. We're going to set it up on the cooktop, and I'll mention this again when it comes time. We have to let it sit up there for about 20 minutes to a half an hour. 20 minutes is the minimum. Half an hour is perfect, but I know Princess Faye is getting hungry as she smells this. So 20 minutes is the minimum that you want to let you have to let it sit up on the cooktop with nothing going on for at least 20 minutes. Half an hour would be better, okay? Because it's not done cooking. Again, this is a braising process. Oh, Mrs. Soberman, believe me, you deserve this. You deserve the shout out. Again, Mrs. Soberman, it is an honor when she joins us here on the live stream. She got to watch me go through the steps, and it's very inspirational to us here on the Prince Magnum channel. Oftentimes, she was the mom that I didn't have, especially in those earlier days of my sobriety, because my mom just was not capable of being there. And there's still some debate whether or not she's even capable of being a mom, even though she's my mother today. So Mrs. Soberman oftentimes has to fill that gap, okay? Even to this day, even though she's not much older than me, not by many years, but she just somehow just kind of, adopted. It's weird. it works though, so don't question it. So it's always an honor when she joins us here on the Prince Magnum channel. Yes, dear.
Nothing, just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out. All right. Did you have anything you wanted to add to this stream?
I don't think I have anything.
Not at the moment?
Just hi, everybody, I guess.
Okay.
I'm tired.
You're tired? Okay. I'm going to say, can you find Spike?
I don't know. Normally he runs up to me when I come in, but I haven't seen him lately.
I'm going to say, maybe he got his butt kicked.
I'll go take a look. See, he's probably behind the dishwasher.
Probably. Little knucklehead. Mm.
I'll look. See.
Okay. So, yes, yes. Well, you got your shout out not too long ago because being an inspiration to really make the live streams very interesting for Surviving Romance. Again, Surviving Romance is my all-time. It is my favorite to do. With close right behind it. I mean, I enjoy the hot rodding stuff. It's a lot of fun, but I enjoy doing Surviving Romance quite possibly more than all the others. But a close second would definitely be Sober Talk. I mean, some days they even switch places on that. But always kind of in third place is Do-It-Yourself Budget Hot Rodding. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy it. There you go. T-Bone throwing out a very special thumbs up. I enjoy doing the hot rodding stuff, and there's no question about it. It's a lot of fun, but it's just not as... Oh, and there's Spike. Spike, our little kitten. It's just, the hot rodding stuff is not as much fun as cooking or talking about sobriety. And I love doing history, which is why we have a look into our past. But I'm working on one, but the mini movie is kind of taking precedence over that. And for those who love kittens, there's Spike, the kitten that we're fostering right now. He's just a lot of fun. We love him to pieces. And we're trying to find him a nice little home that he can go to and make a family just a lot of fun. Now, I will tell you, he's a mischievous little guy. He's a very mischievous little guy. He's our little gremlin. That's how he got his nickname Spike. We just love him to pieces.
Have you mentioned his full name?
Well, we call it his actually, it was a friend of ours, her and her other half, a different Randy and her other half, Chris, actually found him, and he was kind of abandoned by Mama. And they brought him in, started fostering him, and then asked if we would foster him for a little while, while we continue to search for a home for him. But and because they gave him the name Julius Needles, the last part Needles, because he has not quite found out how to not claw people when he gets excited around them. And so he's kind of, oh, T-Bone says, hi, meow. So because of that, but because he's so mischievous, he reminds me of a gremlin, and we nicknamed him Spike. He's our little gremlin. And of course, if he decides, we'll even give him a little bit of the pork roast, because he'll eat just about anything. He's also our little Mikey, like Taver used to be. He would eat it. He still eats spaghetti. Taver still eats spaghetti.
Taver's also one he likes to eat potato chips and tortilla chips.
Yeah, he likes potato chips, tortilla chips, and Spike, he'll just about eat anything. Galaxy, not so much. She's a little bit more finicky.
She'd rather just sniff it and decide she doesn't like it and walk away.
Yeah, pretty much. Again, cats having their own personality, and we love our cats here. And of course, Spike is he's just Spike. We love him to pieces. And we'll be sad to see him when he does find his new home. When we find a new home for him, we'll be sad to see him go, but we'll be happy that his little mischievous ways will brighten somebody else's day. So we will definitely, definitely, it's one of those things. Oh, big heart, big heart. We'll be glad for him though. Um, he's kind of become a
Oh God, big yawn.
big yawn. Yeah, I think he'll always be a big baby in some ways, just mischievous as can be. Kind of makes me miss when Tabor was a kitten, and we've had him 4 years, and he's still my bestest buddy in the whole wide world. Wouldn't trade him for the world. But anyhow, for those who like kittens and cats, anyhow. So anybody who's looking for a cute, lovable little kitten, Spike is looking for a home. He's looking for a home.
Silverman.
Yep.
You think Mrs. Silverman would want one?
They've had cats before, but I don't think they've had a cat in a long time. We could take them all the way to Branson, But anyhow.
He doesn't mind going out. He goes on walks. He likes the leash.
Yeah, he don't mind walks.
I took him out to the lake. He did just fine.
Yep. He's very inquisitive. Very inquisitive. Okay. And of course, if we can get Tabor, he's gotten big.
Well, when you compare Tabor to, something the size of a small football,
Yeah.
like a Nerf ball.
Right.
Oh, you're fine. Oh.
I cannot see that icon.
Can you tell me what's up?
That one there at the bottom. I can't even see that right now. But anyhow. But yes. Now, for the record, we do have some stray cats floating around, and they do an amazing job keeping the mice to a very minimal. They do an amazing job. There are mousers, because we right behind Prince Magnum Channel HQ is a giant field. So we have a lot of field mice that like to try to find their way into homes here in the apartment complex behind HQ, and the strays do an amazing job keeping those down. So we thank our stray cats, and we do not bother them. So, the big one, big old tape. Oh my gosh, you've got to be a pork chop. Oh, look at him. Oh, hasn't he gotten big from some of those earlier videos? He is still my best buddy. He doesn't want to be on camera. He's gotten shy at his older years, but he's still my buddy. Even though he's a pork chop, my goodness, he has gotten big. Buddy, we're gonna put you on a treadmill. Anyhow, normally when I say that, he gives me this dirty look. He is big. He is big. You can't quite see, because of how big he has gotten. As a kitten, on his side, people would actually Photoshop hearts on the side of their cats. He came with his own, so we never had to Photoshop that. But because he's gotten so much bigger, you really can't quite see that it's a heart, but it's there, And for the record, for those who love cats, Tabor is actually the one that when I have a post-traumatic flashback, he takes care of me during those flashbacks.
I just thought you'd like to know you have less than 2 minutes left on your timer.
Awesome. Yep, that's about right. So we'll have to let it sit for about 20 minutes and, of course, open the foil pack. Well, hello there, Galaxy. She is Little Miss Antisocial. Not treadmill, but cat. Well, you know.
She's got that look that says she's going to murder me.
She always has that look that says she's going to murder somebody.
Can I get bat wings and put them on her and take her out to a Halloween party?
Bat cat.
This is my bat cat.
Bat cat.
Cat. Bat cat.
Come here, you.
Oh.
Come here, you. And of course, for those who love cats, I don't know how and no one could love a black cat. Look at that.
Look at that fur.
Look at that.
Look at that fur.
Isn't she beautiful?
She my baby.
Isn't she beautiful?
Give me back my baby.
Yeah.
My baby's gonna murder me.
Right, right. I'm sorry. Anyone who says that black cats are evil, because
They're
it,
the evil ones.
wrong. That they're beautiful. I love Galaxy to pieces. She's one of our favorites. And oh, there it is. There's the timer. Um, So let's run off to the kitchen, and I need to quit smoking. And yes, yes, I hear you. It's a beeping. There we go. And we're going to set the camera up again. The contents of what we're taking out of the oven is hot. I always want to quit smoking, but every time I try to quit smoking, I start getting the urge to drink. So let's worry about the one that's going to kill me the quickest here, okay? All righty, again, let's go ahead and get this out of the oven. Wear heat protection. Again, 2 words if you don't in this particular case. Burn ward. Okay. Now, we're going to hit the clear button on this, and we're going to set this for minutes. We're going to set this for 20 minutes. And then we're going to open up the foil pack, and you all will see what it is that I'm talking about. All right. So we'll discard that, and we'll go back to the office, hang out a little bit more. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Again, I want to say again to the ladies that I have mentioned today, I didn't get every last lady that has been inspirational in my life. To lay the groundwork for what would later on become Sober Talk here on YouTube. But they know who they are. There's a lot of ladies that have been very, very inspirational to me, Prince Magnum, from my past. But I mentioned a few that definitely were, I really felt that they needed this special shout out for the whole world to know that they're good ladies. And a couple of them, again, in and out of relationships, and just strong personalities from these ladies, including some of them that are on the live stream right now. There's 4 people on the live stream. We've had people pop on and off, and just, again, strong, wonderful ladies that have laid the groundwork for me, Prince Magnum, and of course allowed me to be the romantic husband that I like to be here for Princess Faye, so that's very, very important that it's important to me, okay? So, again, I'm giving credit where credit's due. I am not original. I'm just a mosaic of a lot of special people that have come into my life and helped mold who I am today. So, there you have that. Does that take some humility to admit that I'm not original? I don't know. There you go. So we have about another 20 minutes before we crack that open. Then we'll go ahead and credit out, because this is going to be the longest live stream that I have ever done. Well worth every second of it. Believe me when I say that. Real quick, while we're while we're kind of killing a little bit of time before we open up the roast. For humor, we're going to actually to show you how this comes out. I'm actually gonna be able to probably, if all goes well, I'll actually be able to peel some of the roast, actually kind of open it up with a spoon if I did this correctly. It'll literally almost just fall apart. And there's a lot of people that talk about, it was done to perfection. The meat just fell apart on the plate. We'll actually be able to show you that. Now, real quick, the reason why we also pull the roast out and set it up on the cooktop for 20 minutes to a half an hour is it's not done cooking. Even though we took it off the heat, it's not done cooking. The residual heat that's inside the foil will continue to cook the roast. So all total cook time, really, even though we only left it in there for an hour, all total, it's actually an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes, depending on your flavor and that sort of thing. And so this is very, very important. Um, Now, also, while we're also on the subject, being that this is pork, you could also, if you wanted to take a little extra time, you could actually brine the pork butt long before you take it to this process. How long? I don't know. I've never attempted to brine it. Honestly, in this particular case, it might be overkill. Uh, because I mean, a long, low, moist cooking, and you brine to kind of keep the moisture in, inject flavor. Well, we're already doing that, so to me, it might be an extra step. I don't think it would be necessary in this case. But could you do it? Yes, you could. Okay. Just also bear in mind that when you do a brine, it's an extra step. How long would I do it? Considering the size of the hunk of meat that we used for this process, you could actually go. I would say overnight would be fine. You could anywhere from, I would say, 8 to 12 hours. Okay, you could actually put this in the night before, leave it overnight, and go to work and all that other stuff. Doesn't sound good. A brining process is just a way to inject a salt flavored liquid into the meat to kind of help enhance the flavor. Brining is actually perfect for well, it depends on how you want to take it. Anyhow, the brining process is for injecting flavor. You want to do it with poultry. Doing brining with poultry is fantastic because poultry has kind of a neutral flavor. It's great for shrimp, certain types of seafood, obviously, and anything pork nowadays, anything pork product nowadays. Why is this such a major emphasis for pork nowadays? Well, back in the 90s, right. Well, this is surviving romance. Any gloves can come off at any time when we talk about the bedroom door closing. You're the one who took it that way, sicko. Anyhow. Oh, man. I got some sick friends some sick puppies as friends. We'll just leave it at that. Pork product, back in the 90s, pork kind of went through this transition where they started cleaning it up to be leaner and cleaner on the plate. Before that time, pigs were served slop, okay? So trichinosis was a problem. I don't believe since they started cleaning up their act in the 1990s that we have had, he's like, I'm sorry, we haven't had an outbreak of trichinosis since the 90s. So that allows us nowadays to actually cook a certain pork product. I wouldn't recommend doing bacon this way, but certain pork product we can now do medium rare. You don't have to cook it to the point where you would swear it's been at Pompeii. So we don't have to do that now. We can take certain pork products to medium rare, like our pork butt that's in the oven, well, sitting on the cooktop right now. You can take it to medium rare, and without any worries of trichinosis. On top of that, the pork industry also did this to compete with the poultry industry. Poultry has always been very lean on the plate, just because of the life of chickens and turkeys and things like that. Well, all that being said, the pork industry had to keep up. So what does this mean? Well, the pigs got leaner, okay, meaning less fat. Less fat. Fat is great. Oh, I will, Mrs. Soberman. And thank you for again honoring us with your presence here on the Prince Magnum channel for a live stream. And I will tell Princess Feyru that you said hi. I think she's watching something right now. Which once we go back into the kitchen, once we hear the timer go up, she'll have to turn down what it is so we don't get copyrighted. Freaking YouTube. Anyhow, freaking Google. Anyhow, where was I? Being that fat carries flavor. That being said, when you try to do anything outside of bacon or sausage, you have to brine your pork product because of the lack of flavor. Now, from what I understand, if you go to Hawaii, even though it's one of the 50 states, that brining a piece of a hunk of pork out in Hawaii is really redundant because they do things a little differently, even though it's one of the 50 states. That it tastes, it has more of a pork taste than you will in the continental U.S. just because they breed them a little bit differently out there. The pork out there, more fat on it, so that fat carries the pork flavor a lot better than we get here in the States. So, well, in the continental states. It almost makes you want to go to Hawaii and smuggle some of that into the continental U.S. But again, that's just how we do things here in the 48 states, in the actual continental U.S. I don't know how it is in Alaska, though. Maybe someone who's watching this in Alaska can tell me about it. Again, also, the prices of bacon are always extremely high, but sausage and on the plate. Well, T-Bone, this is one of these roast. When you talk about pot roast, again, this is a braising method, which is a long, moist, low heat method. And some of you might be asking, okay, why not? This is not a typical pot roast recipe like we're used to. And so it takes time. It takes a lot of time when you want to do it right. Why didn't we use a pot? Well, all that extra liquid would just wash away the seasonings that we... Yeah, I know. Some people get that last word, that one of those words in there, some people just get a little weird about. The irony of it, okay? Because of the process that we're using, braising, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And again, it's going to take all total, the actual cooked time that it's spent in the oven, 1 hour, okay, at 250 degrees. If you got a good gas oven, you can get away with 200, okay? And if it's a really good gas oven, 175. I know that sounds really low, but you got to also remember there's a lot of aluminum foil around it. The reason why we don't use a pot with a lot of liquid in there and a lot of extra vegetables and things like that is the simple fact that it would just ruin what we're doing. It'd wash out all the seasonings that we have. Now, again, giving away for gas, huh? All that being said, because of the, that's why we don't do it that way. Because it would just, I mean, if that is how you do it, fine. I'm not knocking that method. It is an old method. It's one that's been around for many, many, many years. But this particular method is not. There's a lot of emphasis on flavor. Okay. Also, real quick, this particular method is also perfect for those times that back in, say, like the Great Depression of the 1930s. This was kind of a method that you would have seen used on the farm. It's in the middle of winter. There's not much left in storage except, what you may have when you dispatched your old ox, and that particular hunk of meat is not that edible, so you needed a way to make it edible, and this is just kind of based on that old method, and of course, using a pork shoulder or pork butt. Again, I don't know why they call it a pork butt, because it's not. It's the shoulder of the pig, but because of all the connective tissue in it, it's a great way to break it down. Of course, gelatin, collagen, turning into gelatin, just making that that great mouth feel that we take for granted. Of course, when you start talking about gelatin coming from bones, that would, of course, equate to stock, not to be mistaken for broth. Wow, a lot of actual cooking science in this one too. Again, husbands, take a lot of notes here. Again, this is also, I think, all total, we spent maybe at the worst $15 for all of this food. And you can feed up to 4 people. Just serve with maybe rice, pasta, whatever you want. I'll have to come over and make one. Tell, tell Mom I said hi. She's probably listening right now, actually. Again, I love a good roast. And doing a roast, very simple, very easy, and the more people you can actually do. We have threatened on a few occasions doing 2 at once. Of course, you might have to turn up the heat a little bit. If anyone tries that, tell me about it. And of course, we would have to double. Says hi, son. I love it. So again, T-Bone's mom, I call her mom, and his dad I call dad. And just more extended members of the Prince Magnum family. That's really awesome. And for those who don't know, T-Bone is like, I've known him since high school, and he knows a lot of the stories from when I was back in high school, and he has already made a couple of interesting little appearances in his own special way here on the Prince Magnum channel. And obviously, his mom and dad are just a more extended family of me, Prince Magnum, and again, being part of helping mold who Prince Magnum is today, and equates to the romantic husband, the hot rodder, and just all sorts of things that good that gets attached to me. Again, I am not original. I am just a mosaic, a collage of a lot of wonderful people that make me who I am today. Hey, honey. Could you give me a countdown on how much time we got left?
Okay, 1 sec.
Time's up. I am so glad you all didn't hear what she just said. We would have to censor that. About how much time we got left?
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay. Yep. So real quick, if you've not done it yet, be sure to check me out on Patreon, and where to find me on Patreon, Magnum_Prince at patreon.com. If you have anything to donate, all proceeds go back into Project Spirit. Everything that will be done to Project Spirit will be done whether you donate or not, it's just going to take more time if you're unable to donate. So just bear that in mind. If you don't have anything to donate, just you being here on the Prince Magnum channel and hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and hitting the bell icon is always, always appreciated. And when you join me here on the live stream, it's always appreciated. When you view any videos that I upload, is always, always, always appreciated. Thank you all so very much. Again, many of you out there make Surviving Romance the most watched, series right here on the Prince Magnum channel. A close second, of course, is always Do-It-Yourself Budget Hot Rodding, and then Sober Talk, and then In Your Face right after Sober Talk. I'd never thought I would see the day that In Your Face would fall behind Sober Talk. Sober Talk gets a lot more views than it used to. And then, of course, a look into our past is just not watched a whole lot because, well, hey, it's history. No one really gets into history. So we're going to go ahead and start making our way back to the kitchen, and you all will get to see. Honey, could you kill the...
What?
I was going to say, could you kill the volume for just a moment? Because we are at that stage where when the timer goes off, we're going to open up the foil pack, and we're going to see what's inside. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Again, there's our foil pack. And time, which means that it's time to eat. Okay, now, again, this is still going to be very warm, so please, please, please be careful. I am going to grab a spoon because if all turns out well, where is our spoons? I know you.
Plastic ware.
Well, actually, I was going to say butter knife would work in this case, too. You grab a butter knife.
I've grabbed it. Now what?
Hand it here, please.
There you go.
Okay. Right now, we're making our way into the foil pack. And oh, you can smell the garlic. Smell it all. It's fantastic. Again.
Oh, they can't smell it.
Yeah, I know it. Doggone it.
Oh, you just put the dishes away.
Yeah. There you go. How well can you all see that, I believe?
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get close up for you. Ooh.
Okay, hold her. Hold her there.
That layer of fat there.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to eat the fat, but you can actually see where, right there, there's a nice meaty section. You can see, you can just cut it with a butter knife. Right there. And there's even a bone right next to that. And usually that's a very tough area. So, I would say we got it right. Fantastic. Another episode where we walk away with something good to eat. So, maybe you all might give this a try, okay? Now, that brings us to the spot. I'm ready to eat. I know you all are probably going to run off and maybe grab a snack if you hadn't eaten earlier or whatever. So, as usual, we already said all that need to be said other than follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook. There is no such thing as Twitter face, so you don't have to follow me there. Be sure to keep your eyes out. We'll be doing more episodes soon enough. Do-It-Yourself Budget Hot Rodding, Surviving Romance, and we will be doing a very, very special Sober Talk soon enough. We're going to go over the fourth step, but that'll probably be tomorrow. All right. As always, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is. Just do something with yourself. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them. You might make them a pork roast. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.